Now it's my pleasure to introduce SPA's undergraduate student speaker, Nathan Bronstein. Nate Bronstein hails from Ardmore, Pennsylvania, a small town just west of Philadelphia. Today he receives his Bachelor of Arts, magna cum laude, in Political Science and International Relations. Nate also minored in Spanish and creative writing and completed a certificate in Advanced Leadership Studies through SPA's leadership program. He has demonstrated leadership throughout his time at American as president of student government, his junior year, and head of several other student organizations. He has also served as co-director of AU's improv troupe, Mission Improvable. Nate is especially proud to have established his own business, Sync Systems, to construct an online forum called Cahoots that promotes collaboration and regional coalition for building youth. You'll find it at URL gettingcahoots.co. After graduation, Nate joins Teach for America to teach elementary education in Philadelphia, and also pursue a dual master's degree in public administration and social policy at the University of Pennsylvania. Please join me in welcoming Nate Bronstein.
Thank you, Dean Leogrand. I don't know if you noticed, but Winfield and Dean Leogrand are both a lot taller than me, so I'm gonna, yep. How convenient. My name's Nate Bronstein, and I believe in superheroes. Always had. When I was 8 years old, growing up in our small suburban town just west of Philadelphia, I used to rush home from school every day to catch the latest episode of The Super Friends. Now, The Super Friends was this cheesy cartoon series that originally ran its course through the 70s. Every week, Superman and friends would stop an alien invasion, halt a rampaging monster, or foil the plot of an evil scientist. Banded together, my caped childhood heroes were unbeatable, and their commitment to truth, justice, and the American way was enough to get me making my own cape and running around our neighborhood, looking for villains to defeat and evil to triumph over. I chase a lot of squirrels, I assume. Now, when I was 10, I learned that evil doesn't always wear a dark cape and plot to take over the world. Instead, it can be an invisible and unrelenting force, one that neither gives warning nor shows mercy. Evil for me at the age of 10 was the cancer that intruded into my father. The ensuing battle against the cancer would last 8 years, an exhausting cycle of victory overshadowed by setback repeated again and again. This was the hardest time of my life. And while my family fought its war against the cancer, I saw my country enter a war against terror. As a child of the 90s, and to be fair, a comic book nerd of the 90s, I grew up believing that good would always triumph over evil, and that the potential of our country to solve all of the world's problems were limitless. I believed in a future of perfectly sustainable flying cars where everyone had equal rights. I believed in a future where we had landed on Mars and AIDS was only referred to in history textbooks. And yet, the world I looked out onto was wrought with war and inequality, was poorly educated, had a broken economy, and a rapidly degrading earth. Meanwhile, my father's condition was not improving. It was enough to make the optimist in me turn to pessimism. Now, it does have an upswing. One night when I was 18, I was driving home from the movies with my dad, having just seen this movie called Room 1408. It's an awful horror movie from 2007 with John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson. And I got a few nods. As we were driving, I started venting about the state of the world and how tired I was fighting to remain the optimist, how helpless I felt trying to make things better. He quietly listened to me as I let my years of pent-up frustration out into the open for the first time. After I had finished, we sat in silence until we pulled up to a red light and he turned to me. Now, he gave me 2 pieces of advice that night that have stuck with me to this very day. First, he said, what doesn't kill you will only make you stronger. Then, after a pause, he gave me a second piece of advice. When faced with any challenge, just remember, always, always do the right thing. I was 10 when I learned what evil was. That night, 8 years later, sitting in that old Toyota Land Cruiser with my father after what would be the last movie I would ever see with him, his strength taught me what it meant to be a superhero. You see, a hero has faced it all. Challenges, burdens, crises, fears. But what makes a hero heroic is not that they are undefeated. It's that they're undaunted. Their values and morals unharmed despite every challenge thrown their way. They're not more than human, but instead dare to be greater than what others expect. This class of 2012 is our story. A story of persevering against odds no other generation has ever faced. My father would pass away on October 16, 2007. But he was my spark, that trigger for my passion and my drive. And as I stand before you now, I know that each one of you has that spark. A different, but equally life-changing person, event, or moment that gave you a fiery passion and pushed you to give yourself to something greater than yourself. And that, I believe, is the defining characteristic of this campus. 1 year after my spark, I find myself lying on the bed in my recently unpacked dorm room for the first time. The previous several days was this haze of goodbyes, last-minute shopping trips, and traveling to this new place. Laying in the darkness of my room, staring out the window up at the stars, I'm able to let my mind wander for the first time in weeks. I hear the distant buzz of an unfamiliar city, the humming of people down below at the front of the residence hall, and that annoying mechanical voice, Mass Avenue, walk sign on, 2 cross. Northsiders. I was in awe of this new location, the greatness that surrounded me. This is the capital of the free world, where Martin Luther King told us he has a dream. FDR promised us we have nothing to fear but fear itself, and JFK reminded us to ask not what the country can do for you. This is a town of empowerment and making a difference for your country and the world. And as I drift out of consciousness, I dream of what is to come and how it will change me. In the next 4 years, I would witness history take place with the inauguration of our country's first black president. A rally organized... A rally organized by comedians that would fill the National Mall. And a snowstorm that would shut down city operations for a week. I would watch us as year after year we created the largest team at the DC AIDS Walk. I would march with this community every year to take back the night and combat violence against women. I would watch as we successfully initiated and ran a political campaign to elect one of our own to local government. And when the Westboro Baptist Church came and reminded us that there are those who do not tolerate our tolerance, I would watch this community stand together, protecting and loving one another as we rally to reaffirm Santa. Through my 4 years, I would be a part of this community that would raise over $300,000 to combat my oldest enemy, cancer. In a year's time, this place would be my home away from home, and I would find myself another family here. There is something special and unique here. It's a drive and it's a passion. Here there is not just a love of giving back, it's a commitment to it. And we don't just stand for what we believe in, we move to defend it. We don't just fight for a cause, we live it. At the age of 18, my father taught me what a superhero is. At the age of 23, this community taught me how to become one. Now, our class in particular has been called a lot of things. Students, eagles, wonks. We haven't always agreed on what best describes us. That's all right. That's all right. Because we were never a community that would define itself by words when we can do so by action. Our future will be tough. But class of 2012, I believe that we will be the greatest generation, not because it's easy, but because it is what we are prepared to become in order to protect all those who are precious to us. My name is Nate Bronstein, and thanks to this community, I still believe in superheroes. Class of 2012, we have a world to save.
Let's hear it for Captain America!